Welcome back to the program. Tales of magic and fantasy, ghosts and aliens, and stories that just warm the heart. Which one are you reading?
I'm reading Jennifer's story. Why don't you do the introduction? We're trying to just finish this paragraph.
Anyway, we're looking at stories. A lot of storybooks in front of us written by young students, and they're all written by some very talented young Singaporean authors. We're calling them authors already.
I know, and it is very impressive just from reading that one paragraph. Well, in today's off the shelf segment, we cast a spotlight on the Young Author Scheme, which aims to draw out the creative talents of children as young as 8.
Well, meet Catherine Khoo, the woman who is instrumental in creating the program, and 2 budding writers in the studio with us. Let's welcome Jennifer, Ethan, and Catherine Khoo as well. Good morning to all 3 of you.
Good morning.
Catherine, let's kickstart with this program that we're talking about, Young Author Scheme. When did it start, or why was it started?
Well, it started in 2003. I was approached by a school actually to coach some young people, primary 5s, who have written pretty good compositions, and the head of department, the English head of department, wanted them to go beyond just writing good compositions. He wanted them to go further and write a book, right? And I approached him, and he said, hey, since you're an author, why don't you help me to coach them, you know? And, well, the rest is history. We started the Young Author Scheme. Right, and from the Young Authors Scheme, we had the Young Authors Club, where we published the books, very excellent stories in 2005, and now we have the Young Author Award.
Okay, so from compositions, maybe in school of 1,000 words, 2,000 words,
about 300 to 500 words.
300 to 500, in fact, to a book. So, I mean, is there a criteria how thick the book must be, how many chapters you must have?
Well, we work on 10 chapters, but from compositions to story, it's very different.
Exactly.
Compositions are compositions, right? They fulfill some criteria, but stories have to be developed for the reader. I mean, when I coach my young authors, it's more like, okay, you're writing not for yourself. Right, you're writing for a reader to read. So what makes a good story? We go through that, what the craft of writing is about, how do you work in chapters, how do you write maybe for something that's visual, you know what I mean, like I can imagine, and it can be for the screen.
Sounds pretty tough. I mean, it sounds like you gotta, you know, as thinking, if I'm a kid in school, I'm thinking, write for someone else, you know. Well, Kendrick, and you know, why do we start asking you? You've won an award for one of your stories. So how did you go about writing your first story? What did you, you know, were you a bit scared? You thinking?
Yes, I was definitely quite scared. But when I first signed up for the Young Author Scheme, actually it was only for fun, actually.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect to win this award.
Can I ask, what were you scared about?
About not being able to write of such length, or whether people will enjoy it.
And what was the challenge like? Was it easier than you expected, or was it as you expected?
It was about like what I expected. It was quite tough. I had to put in a lot of effort.
And Jennifer, for you, what was it like? What's the story about, in fact?
Well, basically, it's about 2 people who have to live together in the same house, but they're not related to each other. So it's more of like, who is she and what is she doing in my house? It's something people can relate to, because when you meet people for the first time, you want to get to know them, but you don't dare to get to know them. So you kind of live apart.
So when you're sitting down there and you decide, I'm going to write a story, I'm going to come up with a book, do you think about something that's close to your heart and what matters to you, or is it more of like what Catherine was saying, you have to bear in mind what viewers want to read, you know, you have to have writing that's for others to actually see, so which takes priority?
To me, writing is about expressing yourself. So basically, most of the time I write about things that happen in my life. So, of course, it'll be overly dramatized, but they will be about
drawing inspiration from your own life.
Yes. So what the reader wants to read is not exactly one of my criteria. They read what I want to write because I'm the one writing it.
Very good.
There you go, like a true author saying, well, you just got to read what I want to write. You know, if you want to read them, too bad. Go read someone else, you know. What about you, Kendrick? When you came up with the story idea, how did you come up with that particular story idea?
It's because my father used to tell me bedtime stories when I was very young. So it was usually about fairy tales, and then he used to add in a unique twist at the end of each one. So I got inspired by that and decided to use some of my own and incorporate them into this book.
And what was your story about, actually?
It was about this guy, Mr. Read a Lot. He likes to read books. Has a lot of books, actually. He owns a library. Then one day he manages to get some filing cabinets, actually magic ones. Then he plunges into the storyline by accident after dumping some books inside them. So he meets these characters like Humpty Dumpty, Little Red Riding Hood, and a lot of other fairy tale characters. I'm quite sure all of you should know.
So, Catherine, when you work with such young writers like Kenrick and Jennifer, do you encourage them to be as imaginative as possible, to really stretch themselves? How do you encourage that? How do you let...
I think it's all about motivation. Every kid has ideas. I mean, from as young as 8, from as young as 9. They have all ideas, and you have to draw it out.
How do you do that?
Motivation. You sort of like encourage them to talk about what they want, talk about little things in their life, right? And as they talk, you actually get the little sense of like, okay, this is what I might want to talk about, this is what I might want to write about. And we will talk about genres, because every kid reads fantasy, some might want to write it, every kid reads horror books, ghost stories, and some might want to write about it. So you actually focus into what they want to write, right? And you draw them out, right? As in, okay, so what's your idea about? We go step by step. That's basically what I call mentoring, and from that very one-liner that they have, a little idea, it can stretch to maybe, okay, so I want to continue, and I want to talk about how he helped somebody.
Well, it has to be something they're interested in, because just like a real author, I mean, authors write about things that they have a personal interest and have experience as well,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm looking at Kenrick's book here, if I can call it, 9 chapters altogether. I think it's really cool to have a book under your name at such a young age, but you know what's even more cool, in my opinion, the fact that after you have a book written, you have a small corner where you dedicate your story to somebody. Now, that's not something that we all have a privilege.
There you go, a little dedication here. I mean, she just spent the last 5 minutes telling me how, if she had a dedication, to write a dedication,
I'll probably spend more time thinking what I want to write for that. Well, let's take a look at what Kenrick wrote. Who he dedicated it to?
Well, he dedicated it to his mother, who wanted me to attend the class and to write 100 words a day. Okay then.
100 words a day. I mean, when you have something to write about, it's easy. But, when you have to sit down and you're given the task of go write something and you have nothing, as we call it, a writer's block, what do you do?
I just take a break, drink some water, and look at something. Like most usually scenery. Then after that I return and try and brainstorm for ideas. Then most likely, or actually usually, the ideas always pop up in my head.
Is it always in the order? You take a break, you have to drink water, you can't have a Coke, and then you got to look out the scenery, you can't like play a computer game? Is there a...
No.
Do you have like a system going on?
No, not really.
Okay. Just kidding.
So basically say taking a break there. Jennifer, while you're doing working on your stories, I mean, because it's all about words, it's not about pictures, and with words you're trying to create some imaginative visuals in the readers who are looking at your story. What's the thing that you learned most about this process? The fact that, maybe choice of words are very important, the way you structure your sentence is important. What have you learned?
I've learned that because, like you said, it's all about words. So you have to learn to express yourself in words. Like movements, emotions, they're all very, very important. So you need to be able to choose the correct words, and you have to be able to choose the correct words that add to the mood, and not something that's totally out of context. So it helps, because you start to think about vocabulary, you even start to think about grammar, because even grammatical structures can help add to the mood. So you realize that just about everything in a story, even a comma or a full stop, they all add to what you're writing. So everything is more or less very important.
Is it easier? You're working on your second book, right? I hear.
Now I write just about every day if I have time. So it's not just for the sake of publishing or printing. I just write.
More than 100 words, or more than Kendrick had to do 100 words a day?
No, I don't have it. Just stop writing.
It's okay.
Don't
Uncle Stephen is just putting you on the spot.
Uncle Stephen, hello.
What's the second book about? What's the second book about?
It's about well, I've always been interested in countries, politics, revolutions. So it's about this group of people who have been discriminated against, segregated against, but want to rise up and rebel.
Wow, a heavy topic.
I'm impressed. That's not a big topic. Well, good luck, and thank you all for coming in. Good luck on your adventures on writing more books and more stories.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning and sharing your stories with us. We've been speaking to Catherine Khoo, Kenrick Lam, and Jennifer Yip on building up young literary talents in Singapore. So do watch out for more of their contributions at your favorite bookstore and the future.